Absolute chaos in Los Angeles. Trump and his administration enforcing federal law. So, of course, Democrats create a riot and blame Trump for it. Funny how that works out. We're going to show you the good, the bad, and the ugly from all the lies the media and the Democrats have been telling you, like in real time, split screen. Oh, nothing to see here. Peaceful protest. Kaboom. On the other side of the screen. Also, Stephen Miller, Deputy Chief of Staff, is a man in full, really coming into his own now, as his observations over the weekend called it perfectly. We're going to show you everything he had to say. And finally, you wonder how the people are taken to Trump enforcing the law. You wonder how people are responding to the violence, like the Democrats call it chaos. That's the word they've market tested. Well, the polls are in. The results are the American people actually want the president to enforce the law. There's a shock. It's almost like we just had an election about that sort of thing. We're going to get to all of that and a whole lot more coming up right now. Brought to you by Birch Gold. My name's Larry O'Connor, and you can call me Larry. As you can see, the administration has its sleeves rolled up right now, streamlining monumental moves, but it's difficult for them to take your personal finances into account as they try to fix the world. You have to do that, and that's why tens of thousands of Americans are buying gold right now from Birch Gold. In the past 12 months, the value of gold has increased by 30%. Central banks are buying gold in large quantities. The Rio Reset, we told you about that. It's where BRICS nations are looking to unseat the U.S. dollar as the gold reserve. That's coming up in July. But you can find peace of mind in gold. Birch Gold makes it extremely easy to convert an existing IRA or 401k into a tax-sheltered IRA in physical gold. Or you can just buy some to store at home, just in case. What you want to do is text my name, Larry, to 989898. Birch Gold's going to send you a free info kit on gold. There's no obligation, only useful information. They got an A+ rating with the Better Business Bureau. Thousands of happy customers. Diversify your savings today. Text the word Larry to 989898. Do it today. The media tried to assure you once again that everything was mostly peaceful as you saw explosions on the side of the screen, while a politician or some media talking head was saying, oh, no, these are just peaceful, lawful protests. That's what transpired over the weekend. We're about to show you a video. It's unbelievable. Legal analyst trying to fearmonger, trying to terrify people that Trump's going to be a fascist and authoritarian, send the military in. It's against the Constitution. The police have everything well in hand. While she's speaking, you see somebody literally drop a firebomb from an overpass onto a Los Angeles police car. It's the perfect metaphor for the gaslighting that they're trying to do. We're going to show you that one in a second. First, though, Maxine Waters, congresswoman from South Central Los Angeles, came to fame during the riots in the 90s over Rodney King. She marched down the streets as her town was burning. She screamed, no justice, no peace. She wouldn't have political power if it weren't for stoking the flames of insurrection in Los Angeles. And here she is, lying to the CNN audience while the audience sees exactly what's going on in Los Angeles. Listen to what Maxine Waters has to say.
As you know, Congresswoman, the LAPD police chief, Jim McDonnell, says the level of violence he's been seeing across Los Angeles, in his word, and I'm quoting him now, is disgusting. Given that, why shouldn't the National Guard be involved?
Well, I was surprised at the way that the police chief was describing all of this. There have been no violence where anybody that was protesting hit anybody, shot anybody, threatened anybody. Nothing has happened. And so he doesn't know what to do, probably, because this is a sanctuary city and the police don't have the authority. All that he's got to do is work with the governor. The governor was not even called when he sent in the National Guard. The mayor was not even called. The president is initiating this purposely. He knows what he's doing. If he was, thinking, well, first of all, he started all this with the targeting, all of the migrants in the way that he's doing. And so, if we had people who were working together and cooperating, the governor would have been contacted, the mayor would have been contacted, and they would have said to the police, whatever the sanctuary city is, if we need to undo that at this time so that the police will have the authority, we can do that. But no, the president doesn't want that. He wants to use his power. And I am predicting he will go so far as to create martial law.
What the hell is she talking about? No, seriously, what the hell is she talking about, predicting martial law? Did you follow any of that train of thought? The Los Angeles police chief enforcing the laws on the streets of Los Angeles with regard to riot, insurrection, arson, looting has absolutely nothing to do with sanctuary laws. She sounds like a moron. She sounds like Joe Biden, frankly. What an idiot. Did you see, by the way, one American flag in the mob there at all? I saw Salvadoran flags, Mexican flags. Funny how that works. A little bit more from Maxine Waters, and then we'll move on.
I'm sure you know this, Congresswoman. There has been some violence in the course of these protests. Some police officers were assaulted.
You got to love Wolf Blitzer trying to bail her out. Nothing's happened. Nobody's gotten hurt. Nobody's dead. And Wolf knows that the audience is actually seeing this mob scene transpire. So then he has to come in and say, well, there has been a bit of violence here, Congresswoman. Hate to break it to you. I'm sure you know. Wait, if she knows, then why did she just lie to your audience, Wolf? Why don't you say, excuse me, Congress? Listen, look at how soft pedaled this is, and how this isn't an interview. This is like a full body massage, Wolf. The appropriate thing for a journalist to say is, excuse me, Congresswoman, while you're saying nothing is going on, our viewers are seeing a mob scene with the police overwhelmed. Do you not know what's going on in your own city? Would have been the appropriate thing. But instead, Wolf Blitzer has to say, gee, I'm really sorry to bring this to your attention, Maxine, but, there has been a little bit of ruffian work there by your guy.
I'm sure you know this, Congresswoman. There has been some violence in the course of these protests. Some police officers were assaulted, and some vehicles were damaged in the process. So there has been some violence out there, right?
Well, the thing about it is you may have people, one or two or a few people, who will not conform. That happens everywhere. That happens in our workplace. There's always someone who does something. But we are saying to people, don't be goaded. Don't be goaded into a confrontation. Don't be goaded into violence, because that's what Trump wants. He wants the violence so that he can send in the military and create martial law. That's what he wants. And if a few people were doing that, I've not heard of anybody being shot. I've not heard of anybody being killed. I've not heard of anybody being beaten. So I don't know what all this so-called violence is all about.
All right, Congresswoman Maxine Waters of California, thanks so much for joining us. And when you get back out there, stay safe. Thank you very much.
Why does she have to stay safe, Wolf? Are you kidding? It's the summer of love out there. Stay safe. There's nothing that you just heard her. I love it. She's like, what are you talking about, violence? No one's getting shot. Come on, I represent South Central. I mean, if you're not getting shot, you're not having a weekend. Boy, the bar is low here for Democrats in terms of what they consider just normal everyday behavior. What did she say? Oh, violence happens all the time, like at your workplace. And I do love the whole thing. Don't get goaded into this, because it's the cops. The cops are goading people into throwing concrete blocks at their heads. The cops are goading people into looting a 7-Eleven. The cops are goading people into exploding cars. It's always the cops' fault. And I do love that she's echoing exactly what Gavin Newsom said, too. Don't give Trump what he wants. So think about that for a minute. Hey, everybody, don't get violence, because the real downside of you burning things and looting and harming people and maybe even murdering people, the real downside is that it helps Trump. That's the Democrats' message. The reason why you shouldn't burn our city down is because it helps Trump. How about you don't burn the city down because we live in a civilization and law and order, and, innocent people's businesses and homes shouldn't be destroyed, let alone their lives. No. The real problem is it helps Trump. These people are morally vacuous individuals. They have lost their moral compass. Everything is pointing due north at Trump. My favorite Maxine Waters moment, though, was when she demanded to go into a federal building in downtown Los Angeles, the ICE building. Watch what happened. This is fantastic.
No, I want you to... Hello. Congresswoman Waters, I just came to use my congressional authority to check on David.
Ma'am, we're logging securely now to all visitors.
Excuse me, I need to get in.
Contact our public affairs office.
I need to get in.
What are you hoping to do, Congresswoman?
I just want to see David Werta. Right.
Would a congressperson normally be able to enter the...
Normally, yes.
What is happening here?
Well, there were some of the authorities, I don't know who they were, and I'm trying to get in to see David Werta, who they have arrested. He is the head of SEIU local union here. I don't know why he was targeted. I don't know what they're doing with him. I don't know whether they're going to deport him. I want to report back to my caucus about what's happening, but they have...
That's amazing. First of all, she's completely lost it. Wighead there is like operating with half a pilot light. But I love the door slam in her face. Would a congresswoman normally be able to get it? I'm here to exercise my congressional authority. What a moron. And no, the answer to the reporter's question is no, a congresswoman can't just demand to go into any federal facility at any time. You have to make an appointment. And oh, by the way, especially not during a riot, when you're trying to lock down the building and keep people safe. And here she is with reporters trying to have a media spectacle. And what's her main concern? The president of the SEIU was arrested. The Service Employees Union, the government workers union, who really writes her checks. But that is beautiful to see the door slammed in her face. Let's be clear here and lay out something that the rest of the media is ignoring that's super important for you to know, especially when it comes to the deployment of National Guard troops. The buildings that are being attacked are federal buildings, all right? Not City of Los Angeles, not County of Los Angeles, not State of California, not private residences. We're talking about a federal building in West LA, and you're talking about the ICE headquarters in downtown Los Angeles. Those buildings are being assaulted. Also, the individuals that are being targeted for violence are federal employees, federal law enforcement employees. It is not only President Trump's right to utilize the National Guard to protect federal buildings or to protect federal law enforcement officials. It is his duty to do that. It is his duty. If a president doesn't utilize the National Guard to protect federal buildings, or to protect federal employees as they are under assault, he is being derelict. Also, answer one other question, because you keep hearing from Democrats and the media, well, Trump calling in the National Guard is provoking everyone. Trump calling in the National Guard has exacerbated the situation. Trump should have never called in the National Guard. That's what's created this violence. Aren't these the same people that blamed Trump for not calling in the National Guard on January 6th? Aren't these the same people that said that Trump should have called in the National Guard? And the fact that he didn't call in the National Guard was the reason January 6th was an insurrection, and Trump's guilty for being a part of the insurrection because he refused to call in the National Guard? One other thing. He literally pre-authorized the use of the National Guard in Washington, D.C., but because of federal law, the president is not allowed to call in the National Guard in the District of Columbia. That goes to the mayor or to the Speaker of the House, and they refused to call in the National Guard, not Donald Trump. But think about this. Trump is guilty because he didn't call in the National Guard on January 6th, and he's guilty because he has called in the National Guard on June 6th. As soon as that makes sense to you, you can be a card-carrying member of the Democrat Party, or you can get a press pass with the mainstream media. All right, here's California Senator Alex Padilla.
The vast majority of protesters and demonstrators are peaceful. They're passionate. When You come into a community like Los Angeles, the way that the Trump administration has, you need to expect to be countered with people who are passionate about defending fundamental rights, about standing up for due process.
There you go. I mean, listen, they're just passionate. That's all that is. That's just passion. I don't know about you, but when I'm feeling passionate, I always get smoke bombs out, maybe a couple of concrete blocks. Also, did he just say what I think he said? You know, listen, Trump administration enforcing federal law, enforcing immigration laws, this is kind of the reaction you should expect. None of these people are responsible enough to hold public office. You cannot let these people get back into power again. Not as long as this is what their position is on something so fundamental. Cory Booker, perfect example. Yesterday on Meet the Press.
The reality is we see peaceful protests launching in Los Angeles. And again, any violence against police officers should not be accepted. Local authorities can handle that. But remember, a lot of these peaceful protests are being generated because the President of the United States is sowing chaos and confusion by arresting people who are showing up for their immigration hearings, who are trying to abide by the law.
My God, the gaslighting is monumental. Also, note how many people use the same word, chaos, chaos, chaos. They've market tested this. They've done a focus group. They've decided that chaos is the word that resonates with voters. Trump is chaotic. This is all chaotic. Chaos, chaos, chaos. Meanwhile, they're the ones who are actually creating the chaos. I want to reiterate, we have laws in this country about illegal immigration, about criminals who either broke the law before they came to this country and have a criminal record. They should have never been allowed to stay in, but the Biden administration overlooked our laws and let them stay, or they've broken the law while they've been here and they should be immediately deported. Either way, we have laws, and Trump told you when he ran for office that he would enforce those laws. That's exactly what he's doing. The people who are taking to the streets and sowing violence like Cory Booker is, or excusing virus and celebrating violence as a result of a duly elected, constitutionally authorized president enforcing the law, they're the ones who are sowing chaos. They're the ones who are celebrating insurrection. You lost the election. You made your case. The American people overwhelmingly said, we want this country run properly. We want the laws enforced. And because we're in California, which is a sanctuary state, instead of Tom Homan and DHS and ICE going to the county jail or to a federal prison and having criminal illegal aliens handed over in an orderly, safe, and secure fashion, because the Democrats who run California have decided, oh, we're not going to cooperate, we're just going to let people out. Well, that means that Homan and DHS and ICE have to go either to a place of employment or to a home, much more dangerous, makes much more of a law enforcement footprint. And yeah, people who are in the room with them, you know, they're going after this criminal who has been arrested for grand theft auto and he's in the country illegally. And they go into a house and there's 20 other people here who are in the country illegally. They may not have broken the law other than our immigration laws. But guess what? If ICE encounters them, it's their duty to deport them too. You don't like that? Then stop being a sanctuary city. Stop being a sanctuary state. But all of this entire situation was created by the Democrats. So there you go, from Maxine Waters to Alex Padilla to Cory Booker. Oh, it's just peaceful. It's peaceful. It's really peaceful. Most of it is peaceful. I would call it peaceful. But that's not even the most tone-deaf, embarrassing, klutzy, moronic reaction from an elected Democrat. Get a load of this woman, Sarah Jacobs, Congresswoman from LA. The Buona Forchetta restaurant was one of the locations on Thursday or Friday that was raided by ICE because there were criminal illegal aliens there. By the way, the business was paying them. They should be fined as well. I hope that they are. She decides while her city is burning, while cops are being assaulted in her city, and while the LA police chief is saying, we cannot handle this, we need help, she decided to take a stand. And what a stand it was. You know, the courage of this woman cannot be overstated. These immigration raids don't define us, but our response to them does. I was proud to have dinner at Buona Forchetta to show my support to them as they deal with the fallout of the raid, where agents threw out flashbangs in order to arrest restaurant workers, not hardened criminals. We'll continue to stand with our immigrant communities. Wow. You know, that is brave. It's impressive. Good for you, Congresswoman. It would only be perfect if you had a little plume of smoke in the background through the window there, as cities are burning, as cops are under assault. But she's got a fine looking brick oven pizza there, and she got the jamon on one side there. What would you call that? Jamon? Would you call that a little prosciutto, perhaps? I'm not sure what the pasta is. I'll have to circle back to this. Nice Pinot Grigio too. What a moron! And then there's this. This is exquisite. Jessica Levinson, she's a local law professor in Los Angeles at Loyola Marymount, which is right downtown. She's the go-to legal analyst whenever the city is burning, which means, you know, she's got her hands full. It's like every other year this happens. She's also a legal analyst for CBS News, but in this case, she was a guest on the local ABC affiliate. Watch her fearmonger about how Trump's going to be a fascist and authoritarian and call out martial law. When again, I just wanted to point out, he has only called National Guard troops to protect federal law enforcement officers and federal buildings. That's his duty. But of course, she wants to terrify everyone in LA that there's going to be tanks rolling down the street because he's Stalin. But watch what happens as she makes the claim that we don't need any federal troops here. LAPD has it well in hand. Keep your eye on the right side of your screen as she makes the case that the LA Police Department has everything under control.
We could see the president potentially, again, pull the cord and say, I need to invoke the Insurrection Act. As I'm sure you've been talking about, the Insurrection Act would give the president more authority to not just federalize the National Guard, but to say that the National Guard can actually act as domestic law enforcement, that the military on U.S. soil can search, can seize, can arrest. That's not something that we're accustomed to. So I'm looking to see, obviously, what's happening right now, but also how the situation evolves and how the president reacts.
And we have seen the president allude to the fact that and we're watching, sorry, Professor, there's a split screen here on the right side of your screen. We're seeing continued demonstrations, and a firebomb was just thrown down off of the 101 freeway overpass onto one of those CHP vehicles below.
I mean, is that not perfect? Trump's the problem. Trump's causing it all. We don't need these troops. LAPD has everything well in hand. The real danger here is Trump and his fascist stormtroopers. And then literally a firebomb on one of those LA police cruisers, or the California Highway Patrol. That's the state police. In fact, I want you to watch it one more time. Keep your eye on, now that you know that the firebomb is coming. Once it comes, watch her, because when the anchor explains what the people just saw, watch her. She gives the slow blink. It's like you can do it. She's listening and says, as our viewers are watching, a firebomb dropped on a police car, and she'll give it one of these. Oh, like, everything I just said just got completely demolished. It's a beautiful moment. Watch her do the slow blink. I love the slow blink.
President allude to the fact that and we're watching, sorry, Professor, there's a split screen here on the right side of your screen. We're seeing continued demonstrations, and a firebomb was just thrown down off of the 101 freeway overpass onto one of those CHP vehicles below.
Yes, the slow blink always gets them. They can't hide. They can't hide behind the slow blink. All right, a little bit more of the media. Local media as well as national media assuring you that everything's fine, peaceful, and orderly in Los Angeles. Don't believe your eyes. They're literally doing the meme, the Leslie Nielsen meme from Police Squad, right? Is it? Well, no, it's not Police Squad. What was it? Oh God, what was the name of the series of movies? Anyway, where he's like, nothing to see here. Everything's fine. Everything's fine. That's the Leslie Nielsen meme. They're literally doing it on a daily basis.
Large group of people. It could turn very volatile if.
Why did I mute this? Stand by. Stand by.
Large group of people. It could turn very volatile if you move law enforcement in there in the wrong way and turn what is just a bunch of people having fun watching cars burn into a massive confrontation and altercation between officers and demonstrators.
So this is the anchor in LA on their local ABC 7 affiliate saying, hey, last thing you want is to move the cops in there. Then you'll create a real crisis where we're just, watching people have fun watching cars burn. Because, that's what they do in LA to have, I used to live in this town. There's a lot to occupy your time. You got the beach, you got the mountains, you got the Griffith Park Observatory is a beautiful place. The LA Zoo is fantastic. You got museums, you got Hollywood Boulevard. Here's the problem. The Democrats have created such a cesspool in Los Angeles. You can't go to any of those places without homeless criminal vagrants, or stepping on hypodermic needles. They've ruined the place. So now the only way you can entertain yourself and have fun, because you can't afford the Dodgers games or the Angels games, the only way you can actually have fun is to burn some cars. This used to be a huge tourist destination, amusement parks, sun, surfing, beach, all that stuff. Now we burn cars. It's LA. We burn cars.
Demonstrations had been going on right outside the Federal Detention Center. Most of those demonstrators were very peaceful. They were chanting, they were shouting. People were driving by, honking their horns. And again, they were expressing their anger about the detention of so many immigrants at the Federal Center. Most of the evening, the federal agents stayed inside the building, but at a certain point, some of the demonstrators got very close to the property. In fact, some of them went onto the property, started tagging the building, started banging on fences, and shortly after all that happened, the agents started firing off tear gas. And
this literally looks like a Saturday Night Live skit, like Weekend Update. Tell us what it's like. Oh, everyone's having fun out here. Yeah, a little close to the federal jail, but for the most part. And meanwhile, behind her, everyone's like, ah, screw you, running by with armfuls of looted goods. You can hear the noise. It's mayhem. But meanwhile, why even bother having her on the street if she's just going to lie to you? Dear, could you just step aside? We'll see for ourselves what's going on there. We don't need your expertise to tell us what we're seeing is not happening. Meanwhile, over on CNN, same thing continued last night.
So there's unrest. Let's start with there's protest. Lawful protest, which is allowed in this country. There is some unrest generally dealt with by local law enforcement, and if there needs to be state support through state police, and sometimes even National Guard under a governor's authority. What is happening tonight is unprecedented.
It's just, listen, we just got some what'd she call it? Lawful protests with a little unrest. Unrest is what they're calling it. Okay. A little bit later on, this morning on CNN. We are having an administration that's targeting peaceful protests, people that are there to protest. The president is sending the National Guard. Look at, they had to cut away, but look at the image that they're showing their viewers as she says these are peaceful protests. It is literally mayhem in the streets. You cannot get around in Los Angeles, downtown at least, because so many of the intersections have been blocked with burning automobiles or with people on their motorcycles flying their Mexican flags, trying to take over the streets. And they're literally showing the viewers that while she says, it's all peaceful protest. We are having an administration that's targeting peaceful protests, people that are there to protest. The president is sending the National Guard because he doesn't like the scenes. He doesn't like the scenes of people peacefully protesting. He's sending the National Guard because the LAPD is overwhelmed. The state of California is incapable of fixing the problem, and American citizens are in danger. That's what a president is supposed to do, and he's protecting federal buildings. There's a federal ICE detention center downtown. There's a headquarters for ICE. There's a federal courthouse downtown. She's a congresswoman. She's a congresswoman, and she doesn't know this. A little bit more.
Most of the crowds, again, that I saw, that I spoke to, that I was interacting with, these are peaceful people that want to get their message across. They brought signs. They're out with families in some places, and others are obviously more agitant, have the mask on, and reportedly, I didn't see this, but reportedly throwing things back at authorities that are trying to do their jobs.
They really should watch the news more often. What do you mean you haven't seen this? Everybody saw it. Everyone saw it on social media and everybody saw it on cable news. But this is who MSNBC decides to bring in, the one person who hasn't seen the violence against law enforcement officers and against federal buildings. All right, now you saw all those videos just now. You saw all the gaslighting. You saw all the lies. Did you notice all of the foreign flags being waved? Did you notice, we keep hearing that these are our immigrant neighbors who are just as American as you are, and they contribute and they want to be here. If that's the case, why are they flying flags from their home country? If this is about Americans who just happen to be undocumented, then why don't they immediately fly the American flag when this stuff happens? I think you know why. Of course you know why. What we're seeing right now is a president who ran on this issue, won overwhelmingly on this issue, and is now trying to reverse the outrageous degradation of our border security, our border laws, and our immigration laws that we saw for the last 4 years under Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. This is exactly what he said he was going to do, and he's executing it right now. And the only reason that you're seeing chaos and mayhem in the streets is because Democrats spent the end of last week stoking these flames. We talked about the fact that they were complaining about ICE agents covering their faces because they were trying to protect their identity from being doxxed and their families from being assaulted. And Hakeem Jeffries on Friday said, yeah, I'm going to tell you who all these people are. They're the problem. ICE agents, the problem. It's funny. When one of the leading elected officials for the Democrats in Washington, D.C. tells the entire country that the ICE agents are the thugs, at some point, Democrat voters and the people who are, targeted by ICE because they're in the country illegally, they might start to climb on board and say, that's right, Hakeem Jeffries and the Democrats, they got our back, and ICE is the problem. ICE are the thugs, so we're going to push back on ICE. And now here we are. And the only thing that would have made all of this worse is if Kamala Harris had been elected president. And Kamala Harris, for the first time since the election, put out a lengthy critique of Donald Trump, the man who humiliated her and trounced her in November. She, along with the other Democrats, have decided that this is the hill to die on. We're going to protect the criminals from foreign countries. Look at this statement. Los Angeles is my home. And like so many Americans, I'm appalled at what we are witnessing on the streets of our city. Deploying the National Guard is a dangerous escalation meant to provoke chaos. Chaos was already there. This narrative that Trump is provoking by enforcing the law and protecting federal buildings, I want to say it one more time. Federal buildings were being attacked. Federal officers were being attacked and in danger. The president of the United States is obligated to protect them. It was his right. He could have called in the Insurrection Act. He could have triggered the Insurrection Act and taken over the streets. He could have. That's the law. And George Herbert Walker Bush did it in 1992 following those riots. A lot of riots. Happens a lot. Maybe Los Angeles is the problem, not Washington, D.C., because the riots have happened in L.A. when there's a Republican in the White House and when there's a Democrat in the White House. Clinton had his own riots. Absolutely. I remember him well. Maybe after a while, we should start figuring out that the problem is L.A., not whoever's sitting in the Oval Office. But yeah, George Herbert Walker Bush, after the Rodney King riots, he triggered the Insurrection Act. He deployed the National Guard in California and locked down those streets. He used the National Guard to enforce the law. That's not what the National Guard is doing right now. That Trump did the bare minimum with regard to deploying the National Guard, and that was to protect federal buildings and to protect federal law enforcement. And you're not hearing that from CNN and ABC News and CBS News or any of them. That's the truth. So here's Kamala Harris again. She's the one stoking the flames. She's the one provoking. She's the one who's politicizing the violence in my former city. My daughter lives in this city right now. Well, for 2 more months. Thank God she can't get out soon enough. In addition to the recent ICE raids in Southern California across our nation, it's part of the Trump administration's cruel, calculated agenda to spread panic and division. If you're upset about the so-called ICE raids, rounding up and deporting criminal illegal immigrants. If you're really upset about that, anybody out there, be upset at this woman. She was your border czar. Those criminals wouldn't be here if it weren't for her. The only thing to do with them now, unless you want them to wreak havoc in your communities, is to round them up and deport them. They should leave on their own. I pray to God that they will, but if they don't, they need to be captured. That's just the reality. And it's all because of her, the border czar, and her decrepit mashed potato brains boss, Joe Biden. The administration's actions are not about public safety. They're about stoking fear of a community demanding dignity and due process. Protest is a powerful tool. Protest is a powerful tool. She says that after seeing cars flipped over and set on fire and concrete thrown at the heads of federal law enforcement officers. And she comes out and says protest is a powerful tool, essential in the fight for justice. And as LAPD mayor and governor have noted, demonstrations in defense of our immigrant neighbors have been overwhelmingly peaceful. Immigrant neighbors. There are immigrant neighbors. They're just like you. I continue to support the millions of Americans who are standing up to protect our most fundamental rights and freedoms. Yeah, I'm all for American rights and freedoms too. Funny how those don't actually apply in real life in any legal way or in any moral or ethical way to people whose first act in this country was to violate our laws and to violate our Constitution and continue to do so. Kamala Harris, the woman who wanted to be president of the United States, is on the side of the foreigners on our soil, breaking our laws, wreaking havoc in our streets while flying the flag of their native country. That's the woman who wanted to be president of the United States. Democrats, they have lost any level of credibility to lead this country. Hey guys, I'm going to tell you about my book. What? That's right. I've got a new book. It's a novella. It's called Doge Squad, The Corruption Protocol. It's my first fiction, although it's kind of ripped from today's headlines, as you can imagine. It's very cool. It's a nice short book. It's perfect for father and son reading, father and daughter reading. In fact, it would be a great Father's Day present for yourself or the father in your life. It's a political thriller. It's about Washington, D.C. and a team of 5 young cyber hackers who end up finding waste, fraud, and abuse in our country, in our government. And then it turns out it's a much larger conspiracy than they ever imagined. It's a pretty cool read. I'm very excited about it. And it's now available on all formats: paperback, hardcover, audiobook, and Kindle. Grab it today. Doge Squad, The Corruption Protocol. If you like Tom Clancy, if you like Vince Flynn, if you like Kurt Schlichter, if you like Brad Thor, you're going to like this book. And this is meant to be sort of a gateway drug to those books. It's meant for young readers and for families to read. You're going to love it. Thank you for buying it. Stephen Miller is the Deputy Chief of Staff and, in a way, an architect of the president's immigration and border security policies this time around in the second term. He's also a native of Southern California. He grew up, I believe, in Santa Monica, California. He's forgotten more about immigration law than most people in Washington, D.C. will ever know. You do not go toe-to-toe with Stephen Miller based on the law or based on the Constitution and the executive branch's responsibilities in maintaining law and order. He was incredibly active over the weekend on the X platform. And what we want to do is sort of go through what Stephen Miller observed, what he commented on, and what he shared over the weekend, because he was so spot on. We begin on June 7th. This was Saturday as the scenes were unfolding before our eyes. It says protesters surrounded the federal detention center in Los Angeles. California isn't backing down. This is a full-blown standoff with the feds. Again, I want to reiterate, these were federal buildings that were under assault. The federal government, led by the executive branch, President Trump, they have an obligation to protect federal buildings. I don't know what it is about Democrats and their desire to attack federal facilities and create a civil war. But we're going all the way back to Fort Sumter now on this baby. Stephen Miller commented on that and said, an insurrection against the laws and sovereignty of the United States. That's exactly what this is. This isn't some, Soros protest with pre-printed signs. I mean, it may be. But when you go after federal buildings and you start attacking and vandalizing those buildings, making it an unsafe condition for the federal officers, well, then again, the administration has an obligation to protect the sovereignty of the United States federal government. That's just how it goes. Stephen Miller, once again, where the Los Angeles police chief released a statement after the ICE raid on Friday saying that his officers are not going to cooperate with ICE in any way. Stephen Miller siding with invaders over citizens. And that's 100% what happened. Just understand, when law enforcement and elected officials say that we're not going to cooperate with the federal government because we don't like what they're doing to illegal immigrants, what they're doing is protecting citizens of a foreign country against law enforcement and the government of the United States of America because they don't like the way the election went. And I'm supposed to be brokenhearted about January 6th, which lasted 3 hours. Stephen Miller, once again, if we don't fix this, we don't have a country. And then he brought it back to the big, beautiful bill. Understand that one aspect of the reconciliation package that Stephen Miller is going to comment on quite a bit here is the fact that it increases ICE's budget. It increases border security, increases their ability to enforce the law. He also retweeted the U.S. Attorney in Los Angeles. Federal law enforcement operations are proceeding as planned this weekend in Los Angeles County. I urge the public to refrain from interfering with these lawful actions. Anyone who obstructs federal agents will face arrest and prosecution. That's the bottom line. Mike Cernovich, who is from Orange County, California, said, we want the border closed and we want mass deportations. Don't care what it costs. Nothing else matters if this isn't handled. Stephen Miller agrees and says yes. He also retweeted Dan Bongino. We're currently seeking information regarding the identity of the person throwing rocks at vehicles conducting critical law enforcement operations. You know, the thing that we all saw that the reporter for MSNBC refused to see. He also retweeted Senator Mike Lee saying this is Biden's invasion. It is, but I would also say this is Gavin Newsom's California. I mean, absolutely. This is the fruits of Joe Biden and the lax border security. All of these people who came into this country who are now throwing rocks and setting fires and waving the flags of their country, they're here because Joe Biden allowed them to, invited them to come into this country. But the fact that it's happening in Los Angeles in this way, this is Gavin Newsom now. Understand, this is what Gavin Newsom has wrought in California. Also, Bill Maloogian from Fox showing that there are basically Border Patrol SWAT teams now trying to protect other law enforcement officials. Stephen Miller also tweeted out this video from inside the car. Did you see this video? Let's take a look at it real fast. That's Border Patrol agents dodging rocks, bricks, and concrete blocks thrown at their car. You remember how Maxine Waters said that she didn't see any violence at all? Stephen Miller tweeted that and said it's a violent insurrection, and that's exactly what it is. He also noted the foreign flags flying in American cities to defend the invasion and defy federal law. Stephen Miller just on a roll, on X, and everything is undeniable, his observations here. He then said, deport the invaders or surrender to insurrection. These are the choices. That's right. Take a look at this. This is on the expressway in Los Angeles, the 101 freeway called the Hollywood Freeway. Oh, excuse me, Paramount. So this is the 405 if this is Paramount. But look at them. They're actually
continues to just.
They're actually on the this looks like the city street right near the expressway, where they are standing in front of the bus for the U.S. Marshal used to get the criminal illegal immigrants that have been apprehended by ICE. They're like trying to push the bus away. This was on Friday in Paramount, California. This is, wait, if it's Paramount, I'm sorry. I thought it was Carson, which would have been the 405. The Paramount would probably be the 710 freeway, actually, in East LA. Look at this scene. This is who Maxine Waters is defending. This is who Kamala Harris is calling your immigrant neighbors. And Stephen Miller is right, as he calls this invaders, deport invaders or surrender to insurrection. That's really the choice at this point. All right, a little bit more. Hang on. A lot of Stephen Miller retweeting people here. So this is Cernovich calling out Senator Rand and Congressman Massey. Come on, gentlemen, let's hear why we haven't spent enough on the border. And Stephen Miller says, stand with ICE and the Border Patrol and pass the big, beautiful bill. That's a dig at those two Republicans who are opposing the reconciliation package. He retweeted J.D. Vance saying insurrectionists carrying foreign flags and attacking immigration enforcement officers, while one half of America's political leadership has decided that border enforcement is evil. Time to pass President Trump's beautiful bill and further secure the border. It is amazing that the timing of this occurred just as the Senate is debating and wrangling about the big, beautiful bill. And the administration could point to this and say, you want to stop what's going on in LA? You got to fund the border properly. We're dealing with funding that the Biden administration had, which of course they didn't care about it at all. So it is one area where they've actually increased the budget and made it more effective. Let me scroll through and find you more. Again, here's the picture, not a American flag in sight. Here is the quote. Lots of Mexican flags. Lots of Mexican flags right in the middle of this intersection. Everybody doing donuts. By the way, you know why a lot of the illegal immigrants drive mini bikes and motorcycles is because they can't get a driver's license. Not because you can't get a driver's license in California if you're illegal or not. Oh, no, that's fine. But it's because they violated the law even beyond that. So a lot of times they end up getting motorcycles and mini bikes because they can't legally drive a car, not because of their immigration status. Stephen Miller tweeted that and said it's an insurrection. He then tweeted again, this is Friday night, late Friday night, we will take America back. They then have ID'd many of the people that had been arrested, criminal illegal aliens that ICE was, including convicted sex offenders, gun offenders. Gene Hamilton, political commentator, tweeted that out and said, imagine telling a young man returning from World War II approximately 80 years ago, we just acknowledged the D-Day anniversary, that someday violent radical rioters would be on the streets of Los Angeles trying to stop criminal illegal aliens from being deported, and elected officials in California would side with the illegal aliens. I would go one step further and say Harry Truman's party. You know, you tell that World War II vet who just came back from winning the war in Europe, saying, hey, just so you know, Harry Truman's party, 80 years from now, they're going to be siding with foreigners from foreign nations who have been convicted for sex crimes against children. And they're going to go all in on protecting them over the rights and safety of American citizens. James Woods tweeted this picture out, says, this says it all, enough is enough. And Stephen Miller concurred, enough is enough. Oh, look at that. He retweeted our friend Kurt Schlichter. Choose a side, America. Yeah. That's really where we are right now. This is a turning point. And it's not often that you see a turning point right after an election, but that's exactly what we're seeing. All right. And then early Sunday morning, he comments on Terry Moran. Terry Moran of ABC News, this guy, you may remember him. He was the guy ABC News sent over to the Oval Office to get an exclusive interview with Donald Trump. They're like, why are you sending Terry Moran? Well, you can't send David Muir because we know already now that he cheated during the presidential debate. And so Trump will lay into him for that. You can't send George Stephanopoulos because he just settled a $16 million defamation suit with Donald Trump after he lied about Trump. You can't send Martha Raddatz because she just cries every time she's in front of Trump. Remember how she cried on election night in 2016? You can't send Jonathan Karl because he continues to have blood coming out of his eyes whenever he reports on Trump, constantly lies about him. How about the cast of The View? See, these are the people. These are the superstars at ABC News. So they send this guy, Terry Moran. He's the best we got. And, you know, he calls it right down the middle. He doesn't have a political bias like those other guys. Oh, really? Here's what he put out on Saturday night after witnessing Stephen Miller's activity on X. The thing about Stephen Miller is not that he is the brains behind Trumpism. Yes, he's one of the people who conceptualizes the impulses of the Trumpist movement and translates them into policy. But that's not what's interesting about Miller. It's not brains. It's bile. Miller is a man who is richly endowed with the capacity for hatred. He's a world-class hater. This is ABC News journalist Terry Moran. You can see this just by looking at him, because you can see that his hatreds are his spiritual nourishment. He eats his hate. Did he think he was texting this to somebody? Or like Anthony Weiner, he thought this was a DM, but he erroneously put it out, because he has deleted this, I assure you. Trump is also a world-class hater, but his hatred only a means to an end. And that end is his own glorification. That's his spiritual nourishment. That's Terry Moran. What a guy, huh? ABC News has subsequently suspended him. Suspended? Not fired? Suspended? What, is there maybe an excuse? Maybe you put him on probation. When he comes back, he promises he won't think like this anymore. No, this is who he is. No one could possibly ever see a report from Terry Moran ever again without knowing that this is exactly what he thinks about Republicans, about you for voting for these people who are full of bile and hatred. How on earth does Disney and ABC News keep this guy around? Suspended? By the way, ABC News, is he being paid while he's suspended? I'm curious. Is this like a vacation? Does he get to go to the Virgin Islands and just sort of tan himself while he cashes his paycheck? Please share with us the terms of this suspension. I'd love to know. Stephen Miller replied to that Sunday morning. When he woke up, he saw what Terry Moran had said. The most important fact about Terry's full public meltdown is what it shows about the corporate press in America. For decades, the privileged anchors and reporters narrating and gatekeeping our society have been radicals adopting a journalist's pose. Terry pulled off his mask. 1,000% right. Andrew Breitbart is cheering you from beyond the grave, Stephen Miller. That's right. Think of the names that I just laid out there. George Stephanopoulos, David Muir, the cast of The View, Terry Moran, Martha Raddatz, Jonathan Karl. These are the people that ABC News has decided to be the gatekeepers and editors, making news decisions about what information you receive as a viewer and in what way you receive it. Every single one of them, all the way down the line. That's the power structure of ABC News. There is only one employee on the payroll at ABC News that I know for a fact voted like we did and thinks like we did. His name is Reince Priebus. He's an analyst. He gets about 5 minutes a week on the roundtable on This Week with George Stephanopoulos. That's it. He doesn't make any decisions. He doesn't make any editorial calls. He doesn't deliver the news to you. He just gives his opinion, and he's the only one. He's the only one. No one else at that entire network thinks that Trump is anything less than fascist Hitler Satan. Disney has a real problem over there on their hands. They might want to do something about it. A little bit more from Stephen Miller. Chase Oliver tweeted, California, this should be a national mood. Keep it up. He's celebrating the protest. He's celebrating the insurrection. Stephen Miller points out that that was the Libertarian candidate for president. Yeah, the Libertarians have lost their mind on this thing too. DC Drano tweeted out, this is what California Democrats want all of America to look like. This is why we need mass stupid. Look at that. Look at that. Stephen Miller retweeted that one as well. Those are your California men who are participating in this. He also tweeted out defying Rand Paul. Rand Paul's out there saying how the big, beautiful bill is too much spending, too much spending. It may be too much spending, but it also is about providing ICE the resources, and Stephen Miller laid that out there. Even a modest sum to repel the invasion. Rand libertarians are aghast. As it happens, each deportation saves taxpayers hundreds of thousands of dollars. That's right. Then he retweeted Pam Bondi. Stephen Miller, very busy this weekend. I just want to once again going after Rand Paul. By the way, as you know, Stephen Miller and Elon Musk had a bit of a dust-up. Stephen Miller was really pushing back on Elon over all of his criticisms of the big, beautiful bill, and he protected Donald Trump. After all of Stephen Miller's activity this weekend and being attacked by Terry Moran and all of the statements that he made that we're sharing with you, Elon Musk this morning started following Stephen Miller on X. Do we think that everything's okay now? Do you think that they're like, the bros are back together? Maybe. I think this was a wake-up call for Elon Musk as he saw exactly what opposing Donald Trump manifests itself to. You got to take a side. I'm sorry. You may be unhappy with stuff that's going on in the administration. You may have your own personal grudge. But when it comes to the existence of our nation and the enforcement of our laws and keeping order in our streets, you got to pick a side. And Elon Musk, I think, is back in the fold. U.S. Northern Command confirms that elements of 79th Infantry Brigade combat team from the California National Guard had begun deploying in the Los Angeles area, with some already on the ground, again, to protect federal assets. Kurt Schlichter, senior columnist at Town Hall and best buddy of mine, actually used to be the one of the commanders of that very infantry brigade when he was in the National Guard. Stephen Miller tweeted that out and said the wording is carefully structured to avoid expressing support for the National Guard, for ICE, or for mass deportation. This is the wording of Congressman Massey. I condemn the violence in LA. I support a strong border and agree strongly with deporting criminals. But he didn't support the ICE activities or the mass deportation. So Stephen Miller was very much engaged with Massey and Rand Paul. Here, the New York Times wants you to feel bad for violent, criminal, illegal aliens, including pedophiles, rapists, and murderers. The real headline, a local judge with no right to intervene in immigration or national security has sided with illegal criminals. Stephen Miller then retweeted Abigail Jackson's observation of that. Said these illegals were all tried and convicted for extremely violent murders and sex crimes against children. Democrat judge has halted their deportation. The system will lose its legitimacy if it doesn't allow President Trump to carry out his mandate to repel the invasion. We're only at Sunday morning, by the way, with Stephen Miller's observations. Rioter flying a foreign flag to block ICE deportations. This is the symbol of the Democrat Party. I really think you need to follow him, and you can scroll through and see this all for yourself. He is absolutely on fire and really coming into his own as a spokesperson for this president's policies. Going after the LA mayor. Los Angeles will always stand with everyone who calls our city home. Translation, the mayor sides with the criminal invaders and rioters over the federal law enforcement officers. And by the way, over the citizens and taxpayers of Los Angeles who don't have a voice right now. But I assure you, they want their city streets back too. And everybody thinks LA is, it's blue, it's Democrat, it's blue, it's Democrat. Yeah, I've lived there. Trust me. You'd be surprised. I know they always vote this way. I get it. But you'd be surprised. All right, a little bit more from Stephen Miller here as he retweeted. And then he had time. This is what he had time for a really good golf shot in there because he's just a guy on social media. Once again, look at the flags. He points out, look at all the foreign flags. Los Angeles is occupied territory. All right. I'll just get to one more thing that he did because it's worth noting. He retweeted me. This was my tweet, Gavin Newsom's America. And he quote tweeted that and said, California is the largest sanctuary state in America. States ordered every police department and sheriff's office in the state not to cooperate with federal immigration enforcement, even if they were committed grievous crimes. Illegals are given free welfare, health care, and every other conceivable state benefit. They're made immune in every way. Simply put, the government of the state of California aided, abetted, and conspired to facilitate the invasion of the United States. And that's all under Governor Gavin Newsom, a man who would be president right now. That's absolutely 100% true. That's what's going on in California. And they would absolutely love to California your state if they have the opportunity to do it. As he said, this is a time for choosing right now. We just had the election. The president is carrying out exactly what you wanted him to do. And now we're at a crossroads yet again because they are trying to turn this into a legal, political, and even violent confrontation in this country. And whichever way this goes will determine the future of our nation for years and years to come. Miller's right on it here, and he is fearless. And the president is very lucky to have him. Now, with all this overwhelming negative coverage that you're seeing in the media, one would think that Trump is going to start dropping in the polls because, they keep saying it's chaotic, it's chaos, it's violence, it's horrible. See, this is what Trump brings. It's awful, it's terrible. Well, let's take a look at the polls. Harry Enton, CNN, has run the numbers, and, well, everyone at CNN is surprised, but you won't be. The American people want Trump to do this.
You know, if we just take a look at the baseline numbers here, this is Trump's net approval rating on immigration. It's gone up like a rocket. Compare now versus 8 years ago during Trump's first term. Look at this. In his first term, Trump was way, way, way underwater at minus 21 points. But look at this. He's up over 20 points. Now, in the aggregate, he is in positive territory at plus 1 point on his net approval rating. Some other polls even have it a little bit higher than that. There is no issue on which Trump is doing so much better than he was in his first term, more than the issue of immigration. No wonder the Times has written up the way that he is. Trump is begging for a fight on this because he knows what he's doing so far is working with the American electorate.
That's part of it, Harry, and I'm going to let you finish here, but there's another part of this that is informing these numbers. We've had a taste of the alternative. You cannot look at these numbers of June 2017 to June 2025 and just skip over the 4 years of disaster that the Democrats. You want to know what the Democrats will do if they're ever in power with regard to the border and with regard to immigration laws and law and order in this country? You know exactly. There's no guesswork involved. You just lived through it. It's not hypothetical. It's not some sort of, oh, geez, I wonder, it's hard to envision exactly what life would be like with a Democrat in the White House with our border policies. No, it's not. It's not hard at all. You just lived through it. Trump is here cleaning up that mess. And so you can't even have this discussion without pointing that out. That's what's happening here.
Where does immigration rank on issues for him? How is he doing compared to others?
Yeah, so I think what's so important is it is his top issue so far. And the reason it is his top issue is because take a look at the individual nuggets in here. Why are people approving of Trump on immigration, approve of these different immigration actions? Well, Trump's administration's program to deport those here illegally. Look at this, 54% approval. How about agents searching your hometown for those that they think are here illegally? Again, positive territory here, above 50% for Donald Trump. So it's not just on the broad issue of immigration where Trump is doing well. It's on the specifics. When you dive into the issues, Trump is above 50% and his actions are above 50%, at least with those most directly connected to what's going on right now out in Los Angeles.
So, all right, little quick commentary real fast. Democrats have played this thing so wrong, and for all the cynical reasons. Set aside for a moment whether illegal immigrants in this country have voted illegally in elections. I think they have. Impossible to prove right now in retrospect. It would be great if we actually had the law enforcement resources to investigate it. Set it aside for a minute. Let's give Democrats the greatest benefit of the doubt. They cynically supported porous borders, thinking that it would build for them a coalition of legal citizens of Latino descent. They thought that angry rhetoric against deporting illegal immigrants would backfire on Republicans, backfire on Trump, and that they would then be the darlings of citizens of Latino descent, right? Because that is one of the largest growing populations in America, legal American citizens who are either first generation or second generation. Democrats cynically thought that by coddling illegal immigrants, they would curry favor with citizens who saw themselves as brothers and sisters of those who have come here illegally from Guatemala or where have you. It completely backfired on them. Trump actually grew the Latino vote. It's larger than it's ever been for the Republican Party right now because they're the victims of the chaos that comes with opening the border. Illegal immigrants prey on their neighborhoods and take their jobs, by the way. So that didn't work. That backfired on them 100%. But now, as the chaos has erupted and Trump has said, I'll go through and I'll deport everybody, I think Democrats, again, cynically played this the wrong way. They thought, well, the American people, as soon as they find out that the people who are being rounded up and deported are the people who clean their dishes and cut their grass or bust the tables at their local restaurant, well, then the American people will be angry. The American people won't have that. Oh, sure, in the grand sense, you don't want illegal immigration, but as soon as it affects, your life and cutting your grass and picking your strawberries, well, then people are going to be upset. See, this is the kind of stuff they say all the time, right? Hey, who else is going to, pick our strawberries? Who else is going to clean our hotel rooms? This is what Democrats are constantly saying. And they think that works. They think that you're going to say, oh, yeah, you're right. I want my grass cut for as cheap as possible. So don't deport them. Look at that number. Look at that number. 51% of Americans right now say they support agents searching your town for people who are illegally. Oh, really? You want your gardener deported? Yeah, I'm okay with that. If he's here illegally, I'm sorry. I mean, I'm glad he cuts my grass, but if I have to pay another $10 a week more to get my grass cut, or maybe I'll go cut my own grass. They've played this completely wrong because they cynically look down on you and think that you're stupid, you're selfish, and that you're rife with tribalism. None of those things are true. Whether you're Latino, whether you're Asian, whether you're European descent, it doesn't matter. You care about freedom, you care about liberty, you care about security, you care about law and order, and you care about respecting laws, because what makes America great is actually peacefully and judiciously enforcing the laws of our country fairly and squarely for everyone. And as soon as we abandon enforcing those laws, as we abandon justice and law and order, we become the same kind of whole country that these people are coming from. You immigrate to America because you expect law and order. If you wanted chaos, if you wanted cars burning in the streets, if you wanted theft and mayhem, you would have stayed in your country of origin. Democrats still don't get that. All right, more of these numbers. It's amazing.
Donald Trump, the president, picking a fight on this. And to an extent, you see Los Angeles Mayor Karen Bass, a Democrat, and the California Governor Gavin Newsom pushing back. So what do voters see in terms of their perceptions of Republicans, the president, or Democrats, say Gavin Newsom, on this issue?
Yeah, the American electorate believe that the Democrats don't have a clue on the issue of immigration. I mean, you could just take it here. Closer to trust more in immigration, Democrats versus Republicans. Got 3 different polls for you across the board. They all tell the same story. Republicans lead on the issue of immigration. You see it here, CBS +6. You see it here, CNN +6. You see it here, Ipsos, even bigger, +19. No matter what poll you look at, no matter which way you cut it, the American public is with the Republicans. The American public is with Donald Trump, and to a much greater extent than they were in term number 1. And it's not just on the broad issue of immigration, it's on the specifics as well, in which the American public is with Donald Trump and the Republicans. And that is why Donald Trump is eager to take on this fight and eager for those scenes out of Los Angeles.
I was just
all right, so that's great stuff, except I would only say that the last editorial commentary, that's why Trump is eager for this. It makes it sound like Trump looked for this fight or picked this fight or engaged in this fight. He didn't. He's enforcing the law. He's doing what we voted him to do. He did what he promised he would do when he ran for office. The fight is only there because Democrats are still stupidly deciding to side with foreign criminals in our country. All right, more at CNN talking about the polls here while interviewing Karen Bass. Karen Bass is like, hey, it's fine. We're great. And then, this is all Trump's fault. Trump's the problem. And meanwhile,
are Democrats out of touch on this issue?
Well, I think if you did the polling in Los Angeles, I'm not sure it would be that way, considering we are a city of immigrants. And then people might approve that policy. But do people really approve the federal government coming in and seizing power from a state and from a city? So I drill down a little further on that poll, because I do not believe that Americans support the federal intervention in a city takeover or a state takeover.
That's amazing, where she immediately pivoted and said, we're a city of immigrants, but then also realized, oh, actually, we're a country of immigrants, and immigrants are fine on this. Actually, they want the laws enforced. So she did a Chris Van Hollen. Oh, I was never, celebrating the Maryland man who's now a multiple indicted human trafficker and child porn aficionado. Oh, no, it was just about due process. So now suddenly Karen Bass is drawing the line here by saying, this is really about the federal government taking over in this city. That's what people are upset about. It's the due process argument. And let me tell you, Mayor Bass, just so you know, the federal government isn't coming in and taking over operations in Los Angeles. You have relinquished operations in Los Angeles. You are incapable of doing your job. You can't protect those federal buildings. You can't protect those federal agents. And that's why the National Guard's been called in. Also, can I just point out that it was only a couple of months ago when this woman was standing up there on her knees. She was down on her knees begging you for your federal tax dollars to help bail her out because multi-million-dollar homes in Pacific Palisades have burned due to her incompetence. Oh, forget about begging for your money. She was demanding your money. And now you're the problem. You were fine there as long as you could pay for federal aid so that she could rebuild her burned down city. But now the city's burning again. And guess what? They're going to come right back and ask for federal money to fix all the mayhem that they've caused. Amy Klobuchar on Face the Nation also confronted with the dwindling poll numbers for Democrats.
In our poll, though, it also shows among those polled that congressional Democrats are overwhelmingly seen as ineffective in challenging Trump. 71% of Democrats say their leaders are ineffective. You are in Democratic leadership. Why are they wrong?
So when you look at what's happening here, Trump is doing some really bad things to people, right? Small businesses are closing down. The economy has retracted in the first quarter. And when I get out there talking to independents, Republicans, or Democrats, they're basically saying the same thing. They're really scared of what's happening right now to their families, and they want to see leadership. So we cannot be the party of the status quo.
Did you follow what just happened? The poll specifically said that Democrats don't think that Democrat leadership, like Amy Klobuchar, are effective in arguing against Donald Trump and making a good argument against Donald Trump. And her answer was, well, that's because Trump is bad. Trump's doing really bad things and people are scared. The question is, you're incapable of doing it. If your own voters think you suck. Oh, yeah, well, that's Trump's fault. Well, the people want their laws enforced. The people want criminals deported. And the people are not on the side of foreigners on our soil, sowing mayhem, burning cars, and waving the flags of their country. Democrats, on the other hand, they're fine with it. At least the Democrat leadership. I think that tells a very important story for everybody watching the events right now. And vote accordingly. All right, guys, let's plow through your super chats here if we could. I just remembered I've got to be on Newsmax like in 3 minutes. Angela, $10 super chat. I watched California and Banana Republic till 2 a.m. Are you really watching this till 2 a.m.? Mob setting police SUVs, trees on fire, looting, plummeting law enforcement. How is any of this peaceful? None of it's peaceful. None of it. Well, all right, that's not true. There are people who are standing around watching it and getting it on video for social media. They're peaceful, I suppose. Thank you, Angela, for that super chat. $10 super chat from Ball State alum. Protest is a powerful tool. Saul Alinsky, Playbook Chapter 2. That's right. Democrats never change. It's rules for radicals, man. That's exactly what it is. Thanks, Jeff, for that super chat. $2 super chat. Sorry, studio's calling me. Dean Cain is Superman. Stephen Miller is Captain America. Ooh, I like that. He does look a little like a superhero. He's a good guy, too. BD for a $9.99 super chat. No comment. Thanks, BD. I appreciate your support. Angela, $2 super chat. You forgot who's going to wipe their ass. Yeah, that's true. Who's going to pick our strawberries? Who's going to clean our hotel rooms? Who's going to wipe our ass? That's how demeaning Democrats are to our immigrant neighbors. They're fine as long as their ass gets wiped. There's an image. Thanks for watching today. Hey, my new book's out. Get my book. It's good. I think it's fun. I look forward to your reviews. Thanks for everything. We'll see you next time. My name is Larry O'Connor. You can call me Larry.